Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. Yeah, that's good. So, welcome everybody. This is I don't know, I think this is about the third week on discussing the 5 spiritual or controlling faculties. And there'll be some repetition, and this is very good because this is one way that a person memorizes. And also, when you hear it, sometimes you hear it the first time and you don't quite get it, or you understand it a particular way, and then you get a deeper understanding. And this is so this is important to not just think, oh, I've heard this, this is old, something. This is how many centuries ago? But the fact that this is applicable in the current age, and we're working with um, terms that were understood in the time of the Buddha, and some of these terms are not common to us. So we really need to examine what is actually being said instead of assuming from our old, framework that's based on current societies. But it is applicable. So that's the beauty of it. So that's a encouraging investigation. Each one needs to experience it individually. As I said, experienced individually by the wise, and this we're developing wisdom. We can become wise in this Dhamma. So today we're going to be discussing a sutta that has a beautiful simile in it, and Ayya Niyyānika has helped with a graphic which shows it clearly. And so we can start. That's not the wrong one. That's the wrong one. What is that? Share. Where's share? Share is down here. Okay. Okay. So there we go. There we go. So this is the land of the Mallas. This is Mallika Sutta. And this the title isn't so relevant. It could have had a different title. Could have been the ridgepole or something like that. But it's a simile. And it's in the land of the Mallas at the time he gave the sutta. At one time, the Buddha was staying in the land of the Mallas near Malayan town called Uruvelakapa. There, the Buddha addressed the mendicants. If I can move this, move it. There it goes. Mendicants, as long as the noble knowledge hasn't arisen for a noble disciple, the 4 faculties are not stable and fixed. So here's this word, Arya Jnanam. The jnana has to do with knowledge, having knowledge. Like Suvijjānā. And understanding or insight. And someone who is noble is distinguished of it, and that also means someone who is awakened. And this can include people who have entered the stream before, someone who has the actually, I think even the faith follower and the Dhamma follower are considered part of the Arya Sangha. Do you understand it that way too?
I haven't looked into that. I really don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Somebody who is on the path, they're bound to have entered the stream in their current lifetime. Is everyone hearing me well enough? Okay, I'm seeing little signs on my on the computer that. So so as long as this hasn't arisen for a noble disciple, so that maybe make it a little more difficult to understand what this Ayya is, because if the person's already a noble disciple, the four faculties are not stable and fixed. It may be that the person is a faith follower or someone who is entered the stream purely on the sada, but they have unshakable faith in the Buddha, but they haven't, their wisdom's faculty hasn't been developed. But when noble knowledge has arisen for a noble disciple, the four faculties become stable and fixed. It's just like a bungalow. As long as the roof peak is not lifted into place, the rafters are not stable or fixed. But when the roof peak is lifted into place, the rafters become stable and fixed. In the same way, as long as a noble knowledge hasn't arisen for a noble disciple, the four faculties are not stable and fixed. So this is four here, this is four of the five indriyas. And we'll see that. But when noble knowledge has arisen for a noble disciple, the four faculties become stable and fixed. What for? The faculty of faith, energy, mindfulness, and immersion. This is Sadindriya, Virindriya, Satindriya, and Samadindriya. And so when a noble disciple has wisdom, faith, energy, mindfulness, and immersion that follow along with that become stabilized. So this is Ajahn or Bhante Sujato's translation in Sutta Central. And I have, get this, okay. I have a document. Again, there we go.
Click down and then pull to the side with two fingers.
See, I'm trying to pull it.
Sorry.
Okay, there we go. So, so I have Ajahn Thanissara's translation here. And when I read this, it was a little more clear to me. And then we also have the what Niyyānika has very wonderfully added. And I'm sure
The graphic from the internet.
And then we'll add some wisdom to this contemplation as we go along. So this wisdom faculty, or noble knowledge. So it appears here as noble knowledge, as it did in the other. It's developed in a particular way that stabilizes all the other faculties. So this is Ajahn Thanisro's translation. I have heard on one occasion the Blessed One was staying among the Mallas. Now there was a town of the Mallas named Uruwe La Kappa. And there the Blessed One addressed the monks. Monks, as long as noble knowledge has not arisen in a disciple of the noble ones, four faculties are not stable. Four faculties are not firm. But when noble knowledge has arisen, excuse me, in a disciple of the noble ones, four faculties are stable and four faculties are firm. So here it says, in a disciple of the noble ones. That's how Ajahn Thanisro. So at this point, it may be that the person has not entered the stream, but they have enough faith that they're applying the effort and they're on the path. They're working at it, but they haven't quite attained the or it could be, like I said, somebody who's relied entirely on faith to enter the stream, but then they have to develop the wisdom faculty. Just as long as the ridge beam of a house with a ridged roof is not in place, the rafters are not stable, the rafters are not firm, but when the ridge beam of the house with a ridged roof is in place, the rafters are stable, the rafters are firm. In the same way, as long as noble knowledge has not arisen in a disciple of the noble ones, four faculties are not stable, four faculties are not firm. But when noble knowledge has arisen in a disciple of the noble ones, four faculties are stable, four faculties are firm. Which four? The faculty of conviction, that's sada, and the faith or trust or confidence, the faculty of persistence, the faculty of mindfulness, the faculty of concentration, which is samadhi, and Bhante Sujato says immersion. When a disciple of the noble ones is discerning, the conviction that follows, or the faith that follows, or the sada that follows, is from that is stable. The persistence, that's energy, that's virya, that follows from that is stable. The mindfulness that follows from that is stable. The samadhi, the concentration, the immersion that follows from that is stable. So this is making a little more sense. This is all these are stabilized and they're more developed. They're because of the wisdom. So here we have the ridgepole image. Can I do that? Can you see? Okay. So here, here we have without the ridgepole. Now, can you imagine trying to build a roof like that without the ridgepole? How it would sway. And this is very conveniently, it's got floor on each side, so we could have, yeah, the sada here, the faith, the virya here, the mindfulness here, and then the samadhi here, and they're all, but they're not quite. We're trying to stabilize them here. They all interconnect. But even like you can have the mindfulness of a cat, stalking a bird or something like this. Is that really wise? This every step is very, or the sada could just be based on charisma of the teacher or something like that. And you might be very energetic, but using it the wrong way. So then we put, but the other ones are supporting the wisdom here. You see, once you've gotten this in place here, this is so much more stable, right? But it isn't like you haven't been developing your wisdom. In order to raise it up to become that noble, penetrating wisdom, the Ayya Niyyānika.
Has anyone else here constructed or even like constructed a yurt or anything? Has anyone actually experienced this? Or just raise a hand? No. I did. At one monastery, I helped put up a yurt. And of course, that's not a ridge pole, it's like a ridge circle. But we put in all of the the parts that would be the roof rafters. And it just it was like, how on earth is that gonna, it just kind of flopped around a little bit within the constraints of the wedge. But then we brought up the heavy circle into the middle to set into the grooves of all of the ridge roof struts. I'm not sure what to call them. And then as we set that down and settled it stability. There was stability. And even as the winds came later in the year, there was no sense of that shifting. And it did give a real visceral sense of how that cap of wisdom can stabilize and hold things in place.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Yeah, I've also seen that too with the construction. I haven't participated. The roof is the most challenging in a peaked a building with a peaked roof. That whole it's very fragile until you get there's joists and things like that, and then the roof beam,
Yeah,
as they were
our
saying.
construction methods for the peaked roofs are different now in modern times. So this image is of an older construction, but still with the yurts, that sense of instability coming into sudden stability is still a real thing in today's world.
And and it's interesting how these really basic forms are still part of our, if someone were to try to build a shed or some simple structure, they would use something very similar to this. So that's did I get off track? Yes, I'm not.
Oh yeah,
I'm off. So that's why the faculty of wisdom is a stabilizing. But as we saw from that diagram, that it's all needed. The wisdom couldn't just be floating up by itself without the other faculties. We need the other faculties to give it strength, and they're all developing at once. I mean, maybe we're working on one, but the other ones are developing. If you put in a lot of work with the sutta, because that's weaken you, and it's a motivating force. It's also, they work together, and they can be also seen as sequential. We're coming up with the faith, bringing energy, and then the energy, looking at the wholesome and unwholesome supports the mindfulness, and the mindfulness, all those other factors support the samadhi getting deep enough, and then there's the depth of wisdom. So this next sutta, I say, well, how do I develop this faculty of wisdom? How does this arise? So there's a description of a stream enterer who has complete unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So that's a definition of one who's entered the stream, and along with the ethics. But as far as entering the stream, this is an extract from a this conversation with the Buddha and Sariputta, and the Buddha has tested Sariputta and asks him for these factors. What supports? This is Sotapati Angang. This is like the limbs. Angang is like a limb. And so they're all interconnected. It's not like one limb here and there. It's like limbs of something that come out like branches of a tree. And so these are in support of entering the stream. And 4 factors for developing, attaining stream entry are associating with people of integrity. Integrity is a factor for stream entry. Listening to the true Dhamma is a factor for stream entry. Appropriate attention is a factor for stream entry. This is yoniso manasikara. Practice in accordance with the Dhamma is a factor for stream entry. So these, if these support wisdom, these actually support the development of wisdom. If you're associating with people that are knowledgeable in the Dhamma, if you're listening to the Dhamma being taught, or reading the Dhamma, now we have the written word, the Dhamma is the written word, and then appropriate attention or yoniso manasikara, really, digging into the teaching, not just carrying it passively, but really the yoniso is going to the source, or really examining it for yourself, and then the practice according to the Dhamma. So all these are so in support of wisdom. So this is the wisdom aspect for attaining stream entry. Here's another one. This is Bhante Sujato's, that was Argentinisro's translation. And these are extracts. And this is penetrating wisdom. Mendicants, when 4 things are developed and cultivated, they lead to penetrating wisdom. What 4? Associating with true persons. This is a sapurisa. This is the same as Argentinisro translates it as people of integrity, the sapurisa. Listening to the true Dhamma. This is the Sadhamma. And yoniso manasikara, as I said, rational application of mind. It's kind of interesting. What do you like for yoniso manasikara? What translation?
I actually have a little difficulty with the rational because it makes it sound very mental, when yoni is very, so it actually is like means womb.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, I feel like there's really an embodied knowing, but it needs to be a wise knowing. So it does have to be rational. It does have to make sense. So I don't have like a one translation. It's more of a sense of settled rightness with reality, an intimate knowing that's got wisdom in it.
Mm-hmm.
What about for you?
Well, yoni does mean womb, and it also means going to the source, the origin, where things come from. So human beings are born from the womb, develop in the womb, and born from the womb. And manasikara is like the work of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the action of the mind. So the mind really considering the source of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that, yeah, there can be an embodied knowing. I mean, I think if you have sada, there's something like they talk about a gut feeling or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just know it's true. I just know it. when you realize something, there's like a physical as well as a mental aha.
But
So-
it's something really trustworthy. It's not that rigid kind of knowing of a political stance that, it's something that's soft and strong.
So that's rational or Yoniso Manasikara. Yeah. Appropriate attention.
That's good. I like that.
That's, I mean, attending appropriately certainly would be a support. I think, yeah, it's just like Polly, it's hard to get one word translation that really works, explains it as well as the actual word. So this is why we all need to learn a vocabulary. The vocabulary is really important.
And it's like a gem. I think some of these words are so rich that really you could look at this word from, the body, gut sensation, feel, or from a knowing of the mind, or it's like it's the same thing, but you're maybe looking through a different facet of this gem of Dhamma.
So this is things that support the development of wisdom. And this is completely should be completely understood. So what is it that we're trying to understand? This is one of the things that they say about someone who's entered the stream or somebody who is an Arya, that they completely understand the Four Noble Truths. And so this little rubrics here should be memorized in some way or another, but this is like mendicants. There are these Four Noble Truths. What for? The noble truth of suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering. So this is the shorthand, and you can delve into each one of these. The Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the turning of the wheel of the Dhamma, has in detail about these Four Noble Truths. So if you want to get more detailed, that's a SN 5511, I think. I should check to make sure. Niyyānika might check. I think it's 11 in, and I think the Satya 56. I'm sorry. I think it's 56. SN 5611. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Yep, 5611. So, but this is the shorthand. So there's the Four Noble Truths. Of these Four Noble Truths, there is one to be completely understood. So if somebody asks you on the street, which of the Four Noble Truths should be completely understood? You should be able to say dukkha. Well, dukkha needs to be fully understood. One is to be given up. What's to be abandoned?
Tanha.
Tanha, the cause.
Well, I guess that's, yeah.
Yes, the cause. Well, yeah, no, you're right on.
I know I'm right on, but
Yeah.
naming
Okay.
it.
Okay, so the
makes it
truth should be the truth of suffering should be completely understood.
the cause.
The cause, and one should be given up, one should be realized, and one should be developed. So we have the truth of suffering, which is dukkha, should be understood. It should be completely understood. The truth of the origin of suffering should be given up. If we can completely give it up, that would be great. So the origin, so this is understanding where things come from, helps us give them up. So tanha, or craving, is the source. the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. So this is Nirodha. And so to be realized. And how do we realize it? The noble truth of the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering should be developed. So in order to get to number 3, we need to develop the Noble Eightfold Path. So this is like a very basic, it's like the that roof framework. This is what we're building, working on. Maybe this is the width, but we know we need all of it. We need the entire Eightfold Path. We need the 5 faculties. They all need to be, it is like building a structure or growing a garden or something. You need all the components. So that's why this is what should be understood. This is the wisdom completely understood. We understand whenever you say, oh, I'm having such a horrible time, I'm feeling miserable or something like that, or, you know, things are going wrong, this is all wrong. Then you say to yourself, oh, this is dukkha. I'm experiencing dukkha now. Why is that? Why am I experiencing dukkha?
Because there's a cause.
What is it?
Well, that would be tanha.
Tanha.
You want something, or you want something to be different, or yeah, or I do, or any of
Yeah,
us
so
do.
I want people to behave the way I think they should. The politicians should behave the way I think they should. The world is supposed to be the way I think it should be.
Sounds tight and uncomfortable and like suffering.
And then I say to myself, oh, a lot of those our dukkha is mind-made,
Yeah.
comes from our own minds. I mean, if I've got a broken arm, I did actually. And if this is the first arrow, is that's painful, right? The second arrow is, no, why me? Why did this happen to me? So I make it worse. And if I'm at ease with the fact that you know, I did go to the emergency room finally.
Yep. Yep.
and then, and then, and then I did find out, oh, it's actually broken.
This was about 10 years ago. No worries.
And then
I was in Anagarika. I
And-
didn't break it. I wasn't there.
thank goodness you didn't break it. Anyway, so I did care for it. I go into the emergency room, and then I just had to wait until it healed. I just had to and then I have a little slightly less ability now because of that. It's just very slight. I went to physical therapy and did everything I could to care for it, but the body is aging, the body is fragile, it's subject to breaking and sickness and all this. So,
Actually,
so how do we,
you were out of the cast by the time I got Anagarika.
so the wisdom comes from knowing how to address different situations, and understanding the cause of suffering really alleviates the suffering. So here we have another extract, and we saw this last week. But the reason why I pulled this one in is because it's showing how samadhi, immersion, concentration, whatever, however you understand this word, so the Buddha is telling the monks to develop immersion. A mendicant who has immersion truly understands. There's this word, there's the Niyyānika. This is why you should practice meditation, to understand this is suffering, this is the origin of suffering, This is the cessation of suffering. This is the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering. So there's this word yoga that the this is why this is the word he's translated as practicing meditation, and Bhante Bodhi says an effort should be made. An effort should be made to understand, but I think it's encompassing also the practice of samadhi, because it's in the Samadhi Sutta here. That would be the obvious way to understand that, right? And this is why I had done the extract, because there was this refrain keeps repeating again and again, and it's ellipsed. Have you got it?
But I'm also feeling like here it's the yoga, that yoga is just the nominative form of that word. It's also a yoking. It's a linking with. Let me go to the dictionaries.
Yeah,
So the
please.
part that I like here is the undertaking, exertion, literally yoking. So yoking to your samadhi would be, really immersing in the attaching to, and I'm not talking about like in a tanha kind of way, but a an alignment, vitaka vichara.
There's also a sense of dedication with the yoga.
And also suitability, fitness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because this is where the modern interpretation of this word yoga is when you say it's a practice, it's a spiritual practice. It's not just the physical exercise or something like that, or stretching or something like that.
Dependent on, ruled by, governed by. So it keeps going back to literally yoking. So
you're yoked to it says a wholesome attachment actually to your practice, your spiritual practice, or your teacher's method or something. So it's a really applying yourself.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time? Okay, we have plenty of time. So we're gonna pause for a minute in case there's any. I'm going to stop the screen share. So we've got kind of covered a lot of territory. Does anyone have questions so far on what's been covered? No, you're happy to keep. Oh yes, Dan.
I'm always waiting for the others to say.
Can't hear you.
That's because okay.
Oh.
No, now good. It was the sound here. Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Okay, you could hear me, but I can't hear. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
First of all, I really appreciate the depth and the detail that you get into, especially in the Pali. But anyway, I do have a question about stream entry, and I've heard the term stream entry and stream winner. I don't know if they're one and synonymous, but I also understand through other suttas that part of stream entry is the rising of the Dhamma eye, or the glimpse of the deathless. I'm wondering how that might be associated with the rising of knowledge, or is that something separate, or is it? Yeah, that's my question.
That's a really good question, Dan. First, I want to say that I know Ajahn Thanissaro, this is another thing with translations. He says stream winner for Sotapanna. And that it's a Sotapanna is also stream enterer or a stream winner. So that's the same thing. I started out reading Ajahn Thanissaro's translation. So and then the second part of the wisdom eye. Yeah, so this is another defining thing with the Sotapanna. And that could be really what you just said, maybe actually what the Buddha was talking about when he was saying that rafter coming up into place and really stabilizing it, just at that point of stream entry, and knowing that everything that has arisen has a nature to decay, to is a I don't have the Pali memorized for that. I should, but that that all things are impermanent, and just everything. It's a deep, not just this body, this consciousness. It's just like it's just everything. And
Yeah.
but it's not like a distress, like, oh my goodness, everything, the world's falling apart, and I'm just a speck of dust or something like that. But then the wisdom is stabilized. I can see that would be the case. That makes a lot of sense, what you said. And I think for different people, I just say the wisdom eye, it's opened up, it's clarified, it's, you're at that point.
There seems to be a sense, and maybe you can correct me, that through our practice, our vigilance, persistence, and all that, we are cultivating wisdom and insight. But then there seems to be a culminating point where the Dhamma eye rises, and there's the glimpse, and that's sort of the setting of the ring, maybe on the year, where it's really established. Once the glimpse is experienced, almost a culminating point, and then maybe the stream entry is established at that point. I don't know if that's, it seems like there's a progress until there's an event, but maybe that is reading too much into it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I mean, it's a gradual path, and sometimes it seems like somebody's just bingo. They heard it in the suttas, they've heard the teaching, and then but they may have been for lifetimes developing, and this was the missing piece, what the Buddha had said. And at the time of the Buddha was in front of others, and there was the noble disciples there. And I mean, can you imagine? It's a Buddha speaking the language that you understand. So we're struggling with different translations and trying to piece the Pali together. And we don't know if this person in front of us is an Arya or just like totally book learning or totally BS. It's like so we have to use a lot of discernment ourselves, and
Sure.
so but it is a gradual path, and then we know for ourselves,
And
and then
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Okay. And even once you get, I'm going to use the yurt one with the circle. Once that ring goes in and the things, okay, so now you've got the confidence this yurt is going to stand. Oops, unfortunately, my hands are making funny images.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
that's when all doubt goes away, right? When that.
and so after that, I've still got more stages. I have to put the skin, we called it putting the skin on the yurt, and then the final, maybe the one for the arahant is then the well, now plexiglass dome goes on the top, and then you can look through and see the cosmos. Just to make
Beautiful. Thank you.
so don't stop with putting the ring on.
Yeah,
Oh no, no.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like the ridge pole is in place, so then you have to cover it and put the shingles on and whatever.
Yep.
Your job is not done there. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
We can put
Well, I think
the
Dukkha will keep us on track.
Dukkha will keep us active. And Joseph has appeared. and I think did you have a question or?
Thank you, Venerable. I really appreciated Dan's question. I had a question that was related to that, so I'm just so glad that he asked that. I'm reading from Samyutta Nikaya 25, 1 to 10. Talks about faith followers and Dhamma followers.
Mhm.
So this is a category of beings in the practice that are before stream entry, and they're guaranteed stream entry. And this sutta talks about what are the causes and conditions for them to attain this state. So if someone's interested in stream entry, I felt like it would be a kind thing to share this sutta with spiritual friends and get some clarification about it.
Could you put
So
that in the chat, the number, please?
yes, for sure. So I did have a question about it. That's why I wanted to bring it up. So
Okay.
basically it says, monks, the I is inconstant, changeable, alterable. Forms, eye consciousness, eye contact, feeling born of eye contact, perception of forms, intention for forms, craving for forms, the earth property, the liquid property, the fire property, the wind property, the space property, the consciousness property is inconstant, changeable, alterable. Form, feeling, perception, fabrications, consciousness is inconstant, changeable, alterable. So too, just to be brief, the other sense faculties, the ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, and sounds, aromas, flavors, tactile sensations, ideas, all of those in their various forms of consciousness, contact, craving, intention, and properties are all changeable, inconstant, alterable. One who has conviction, so one who has faith and belief that these phenomena are this way is called a faith follower. One who has entered the orderliness of rightness, entered the plane of people of integrity, transcended the plane of the run of the mill. He is incapable of doing any deed by which he might be reborn in hell, in the animal womb, or in the realm of hungry shades. He is incapable of passing away until he has realized the fruit of stream entry. One who, after pondering with a modicum of discernment, has accepted that these phenomena are this way is called a Dhamma follower. So too, all the benefits as the faith follower, he is incapable of passing away until he has realized the fruit of stream entry. One who knows and sees that these phenomena are this way is called a stream enterer, steadfast, never again destined for states of woe, headed for self-awakening. Sadhu. So what I want to ask is that this is a beautiful list, and we have to investigate, do we believe any of these factors are not inconstant, changeable, alterable? And then that's the work. So for me as an individual, when I see this list, I would like to ask my spiritual friends for help clarifying the space property. It's difficult for me to understand the element of space as being inconstant, changeable, alterable. So that is somewhere I'd like to deepen my faith and discernment. Thank you.
So, one way of looking at space is that space can be defined by, like the space inside of my hand
Mm-hmm.
is one thing. The space in the room is one thing. And then we think of outer space as like infinite or something like that. But there's objects in it, and it's all there's always change. And then our perception of it is changing. And if all things are impermanent, see, this is the thing. Maybe something might catch us, like consciousness may be one of the things that about that list. Vijnāna of mano. It's like the mind of the mind, or they might say chitta, and this may be like the mind has to encompass the space to really understand the space, right? And that's impermanent too, this chitta. So it's something you have to experience for yourself and see that for yourself, and it may be what is holding you back from a breakthrough. If you have something that you're still clinging to as permanent, because this is one of the doorways to awakening is understanding the really deeply impermanence. Because I know this body is going to be compost or something. It's everything material. It's pretty, but there's denial too. There's still denial. If there's people, I know this, but I don't want it to be impermanent. I don't want it to age. So this is holding me back. So you just look at, there's these long lists, and the Buddha's trying to get into every detail where somebody might get, oh, I can understand all of that except for this one. I can see how this is my block. So it's good to examine that. So thank you for bringing that in, Joe. And I think we should go back to be ready to go back to continue looking at the screen share. I'm going to change the view again. Is it on speaker? No, it was on. Where do I pick? Am I
Do you want to
No,
go
what do you-
ahead and go back to speaker view?
speaker? That's
And
what
then-
okay.
Yeah, we're already pinned, and then you can go back to share.
Okay, then we'll go back to share. Thank you. All right. How are we doing on time? Okay. Is that it?
And then share. Yeah.
Okay. So here is a trainee. And that's a trainee is someone is a Seika, someone who's actually entered the stream or is a non-returner or once returner. And what is a way that a mendicant who is a trainee can understand that they are a trainee? It's when a mendicant who is a trainee truly understands this is suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So this is a definition, along with, thank you, Dan, about the wisdom eye. So this is I think once you really understand how the wisdom eye is open, then you'll be able to see this very clearly. This is the way a mendicant who is a trainee can understand that they are a trainee. So they possess what they call possessing the Noble Eightfold Path. Furthermore, a trainee reflects, is there any other ascetic or Brahmin elsewhere whose teaching is as true and real, accurate as the Buddha? So this is the sada here. They understand there is no other ascetic or Brahmin anywhere whose teaching is as true, real, as accurate that of the Buddha. So once you've seen for yourself, when your understanding is really clear, then the sada this is a stabilized sada. So this is by wisdom. So this is how they can understand that they are a trainee. Furthermore, a mendicant who is a trainee understands the 5 faculties: faith, energy, mindfulness, immersion. You can tell this is Bhante Sujatas by the immersion, and wisdom. And although they don't have direct meditative experience with penetrating wisdom, this too is a way that a mendicant who is a trainee can understand that they are a trainee. So they haven't fully, they're not arahant yet. They haven't fully penetrated. It's deep enough for them to enter the stream and to go beyond any doubt. And the adept is a arahant. And in what way is a mendicant who is an adept can understand that they are an adept? It's when a mendicant who is an adept understands the 5 faculties of faith, energy, mindfulness, immersion, and wisdom, and they have direct meditative experience of their destination, apex, fruit, and culmination, and they see them with penetrating wisdom. This is a way that a mendicant who is an adept can understand that they are an adept. So they have this full knowledge, full direct experience. I don't have the Pali here, so probably would have been helpful, but we're running low on time anyway, so this may be for further. Do you have it here?
No, I was gonna pull it up, but just-
Okay,
we can, I have a guess, but
you have a guess?
but
Why don't you?
we're talking about the full, are we at the,
They have direct experience. This is to be known directly. And the faculties are fully mature. But this just shows how the faculties are developed over time.
Mhm.
And some of it's still going on faith.
This is 4853?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just pull it up since we're. Okay.
Let's see.
So, this was a,
They understand.
the direct meditative experience, the apex, is that where we are?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh no, it is different. Yeah. So young Paul, that would be fruit.
Mhm.
Oh, well, we're not getting a good translation here.
Yeah.
Or US, yeah, we'll have to table this one for another.
We'll have to
Yeah.
work on this one.
Haven't
But
touched.
but where you can see there's the direct knowledge through Bhante Sujata says meditative experience.
Yeah, pusita.
Direct, that's a
direct.
touch.
That's the touch part, but it's a
yeah,
a direct
kayena. So this is body witness.
viharati, yeah,
They would be
and
they'd
an
be
abiding, kayena, body,
kayenit.
touch, abide, direct.
So there's a direct experience of it. That's deeper and deeper. So I also wanted to show here in the Indriya Samyutta, the 5 faculties are, they start out with the 5 faculties and then there's a gap and they go through a list of different other, there's 4 and 3 and 2 there's 6 faculties, 6 sense bases, but when you're talking about the 5 faculties that we've been discussing, it starts out with them up to 20, and then at 48, 43, it starts again. So if you just want to focus on that, don't get confused when they start talking about the 6 sense faculties and pleasure faculty and something about aging, and there's a number of them. So that's, I just wanted to clarify that. I think I made a mistake last time. It started earlier. Starts at 43. So, so are there any more questions on this that come up?
I could say a little bit about the Joseph's question about the space element.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's one of my favorites. And if you go to the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, it's at 140 in the Majjhima. I think it's 140 in the Majjhima. You can look it up. Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta.
The Chula or
just the Dhatu Vibhanga, it's the exposition of the elements.
mm-hmm.
And in it, it says that the space element explored internally would be like literally the hole in the ear or in the mouth or and so I actually do find that a very peaceful meditation to, as I'm doing my body scan, to be aware of the parts between the flesh. So of course we know there are other elements and, literally the periodic table of elements, there might be oxygen or nitrogen or, other gases that are filling that space. But it's literally, it's the compartment, and we really do see it move and change. Every breath, the space that's not the flesh of the lungs expands. Your colon, I mean, you can just squeeze and there's less space there. You can soften and there's more space there. And so as you do a body scan, it starts to like, which part is me? And also there's this sense, there's a real sense of the changing of it, the nostrils, if I can kind of squeeze them there, the space element shifts and changes. I find it a very peaceful meditation, actually.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying earlier. I'll need
Yeah.
applying it to the body, but what's contained in the
Mhm.
space. And it's
Exactly. I mean,
and then
right
the
there.
space in the room. If
Mhm.
you have the space in the room. So I think we can stop now and we could continue questions offline after we
We're-
pay
we're at the
homage.
hour.
So those who want to stay on can stay on, and thank you all for your kind listening, and we're going to pay respects to the Buddha. Arahant Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namassami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham Namami. So I have another sutta for next week and we can continue with the one that we just were pondering and needed to do a little more work on. Does that sound good to everyone? Yes? Okay, so we will continue and we will close the live stream.
Uh-huh.